everyone, and welcome to the Roundup, heading into week 8, where we are going to round up the biggest pieces of news and the best fantasy information to help you dominate your leagues. We've got a couple wide receivers trending up and down. We've got quarterback news to get into, so let's get started in the Roundup. We are getting closer and closer to the fantasy playoffs, which means the decisions that we make now are going to be critical. So that's why we have a wide receiver upgrade and a wide receiver downgrade heading into week 8. First, let's start with our wide receiver upgrade going into week 8, and it is none other than Josh Downs for the Indianapolis Colts. Yes, we're going to continue to talk about him because he is just that good right now. He is seriously pushing into wide receiver 2 territory. On the season, he has 4 top 30 finishes and 2 top 18 finishes. So as you can see right here in the utilization report on the Board Pro 75 from Dwayne McFarland's utilization report going into week 8, based on historical comps since 2011, we can see that down comps to Brandon Cooks, Cooper Kupp, Jordan Matthews, and Sterling Shepard in their rookie seasons. They all averaged 12.5 fantasy points per game, and they had wide receiver 30 finishes in their rookie years. So it just looks like we're going to continue going with Josh Downs. He is in that low-end wide receiver 3 territory, but he does have high-end wide receiver 3 upside, so continue firing him up. Now, unfortunately, it is time to talk about a wide receiver downgrade, and it is none other than Jacksonville Jaguars wide receiver Calvin Ridley. And look, I am just as disappointed in this as you are. After week 1, we were riding high, right? He had a 35% target share. He finished in the top 6 of wide receivers in fantasy football, and then all of a sudden, it went away. In 4 of 6 games, he has a wide receiver 48 or lower finish for fantasy managers, and it just doesn't seem like it's going to get any better. I think what you have to look at here first is that there's a lot of mouths to feed, right? They have a lot of weapons for the Jacksonville Jaguars. We can look at Christian Kirk, we can look at Evan Ingram, and there's just a lot of mouths to feed, but this is not a pass first team right now, and so that makes it hard to get all this fantasy production that we want. So unfortunately, it looks like Ridley just isn't going to get a bulk of anything, but that just means he's going to have boom or bust weeks like we've always thought recently. So he's going to downgrade right now into that wide receiver 3 status. We can continue to fire him up, but like I said, it's going to be those boom or bust weeks. It's going to be really hard to figure out when he is going to have those big weeks. So for right now, I'm taking it easy on Calvin Ridley, and he's probably going on my bench. We talk about the fantasy football age cliff quite often in the offseason because we usually say these are guys that you should probably stay away from. But I'm telling you, there are a few wide receivers right now that are breaking that mold. So we are talking about aging wide receivers. And no, I'm not the one using the word aging or elderly. This is all Ian Hartitz, and you can check this article out, fantasylife.com. He does a phenomenal job with this one. But what Ian pointed out in this article is that right now we have 4 wide receivers posting top 12 PPR per game production that are either 30 right now or turning 30 by the end of the year. And so those names are Keenan Allen, you've got Adam Thielen, Cooper Kupp, and then of course Stefon Diggs. So when I said at the beginning, maybe we look at these guys and we say the age cliff is coming, these guys were all definitely in the conversation of that. What makes this even more incredible that you can see up here is that only 14 wide receivers with an age starting with the number 3, so being 30 years old, post top 12 per game PPR production with a minimum of 8 games played from 2013 to 2022, and that number has never been more than 3 in a season. Right now, folks, we've got 4. So I think this was just an incredible find from Ian Hartitz. The one player I definitely want to bring up, because I already said it was Stefon Diggs, someone that we probably all were drafting. It was Keenan Allen, someone that I know we were drafting as well. But Adam Thielen for the Panthers just continues to be on this tear that I think we need to mention one more time. The thing with Adam Thielen right now, he is on pace to rack up 167 targets, and this is after we thought that he had really hit his decline. He's got an ADOT of 8.1 right now, and the connection is there with Bryce Young, but so is the volume. So that is really what makes us believe that Adam Thielen is going to continue doing what he's doing throughout the remainder of the season. Is he going to continue posting these top 12 numbers? Maybe not. Maybe he falls off, but he is definitely going to pay off that ADP that you got him at during the offseason. So congratulations to Adam Thielen, Cooper Kupp, Stefon Diggs, Keenan Keenan Allen, you guys are doing what maybe some people thought you could do, but you're definitely not on that age clip, and you are definitely breaking the mold. We got news early this week that DeShaun Watson was ruled out for Week 8, leaving PJ Walker as the starter, with the Browns traveling to Seattle to face the Seattle Seahawks. So it is still that same injury for DeShaun Watson. It is that rotator cuff strain. We saw him out the previous 2 games. He started against the Colts and then was out by the end of the first quarter. So with PJ Walker in this week, this whole offense is a downgrade, specifically the pass catchers. I'm talking about Amari Cooper, Elijah Moore, David Njoku, and they honestly have been downgrades since even DeShaun Watson came back in. This offense just has not been good this season, especially for fantasy football managers. Now, if we go to the running back side of things, Jerome Ford is actually questionable to go into this game. So if Jerome Ford is good to go, you can start him. I would say the same thing if you're in deeper leagues with Kareem Hunt. Now, if Pierre Strong Jr. is someone you're looking at and Jerome Ford is good to go, he might not be startable, but it's definitely some information that you just have to keep an eye on. Keep an eye on those injury reports. But with PJ Walker in and DeShaun Watson out, it's probably time to drop DeShaun Watson in your fantasy leagues. Go out if you can. If Kyler Murray is still available, that's someone to go and get. But you have much better options right now than keeping DeShaun on your fantasy teams. We've got a fantasy upgrade that you absolutely need to know about, because this rookie tight end has the ability to continue to boom in the weeks to come. Let's see what Dwayne McFarland has to say about Dalton Kincaid.
In Buffalo, we've got an injury situation with Dawson Knox where he's going to require wrist surgery and is going to miss some time. That's really important because we saw Dalton Kincade last week score a season-high 16 fantasy points, but he still only had a 63% route participation because he was splitting time with Dawson Knox. On average, Kincade has had 27 routes per game. That number could push towards 40 in the games that we don't have Dawson Knox. Just for reference, Travis Kelce over the last 3 seasons, 37 routes per game. Now, this doesn't mean that suddenly Dalton Kincade turns into Travis Kelce. He's going to have to earn targets, but the positive thing is a 21% target share this season for Dalton Kincade in plays without Dawson Knox on the field. So I am expecting more playing time and more targets to come his way. So in a pass-first offense with a great quarterback and not much target competition behind Stefon Diggs, the Bills are looking for someone to step up. This is a major upgrade for Dalton Kincade. He moves to low-end tight end 1 status, but he has mid-range tight end 1 upside starting this week.
Now it's time for our Underdog Plays heading into Week 8, and as always, I want to remind you, you have to use the promo code LIFE because Underdog right now is matching your first deposit of up to $500, and this is a limited time offer, so please do not wait. Head over to UnderdogFantasy.com. Again, use promo code LIFE. Now let's get into some of our pick 'em plays for Week 8. All right, now that we're all logged in at UnderdogFantasy.com, let's build our pick'em plays heading into Week 8. I want to start with the Eagles taking on the Commanders, and I want to look at DeVonta Smith right now. I want to go higher on his 49.5 receiving yards because, first of all, I think it's a little bit too low. FantasyLife.com has him projected for 56.9 receiving yards in Week 8, so that's why I like this to start. The other part is I think DeVonta Smith is going to have a big game. I know that A.J. Brown has been phenomenal, right? 5 consecutive games of 125 plus receiving yards, but I think this is going to be a good spot for DeVonta Smith, so we're going to go higher on his 49.5 receiving yards. The next game that I want to go to here is the Bengals taking on the 49ers, and I think, first of all, this is going to be a great game, but we're going to look at Joe Burrow right here. We're going to go higher on his interceptions, 0.5 interceptions, and I know that's not something that we usually do on this show. We're usually very positive. I'm going to say I know that they're coming off a bye. I know that they're very well rested. I'm more looking at the San Francisco 49ers side of things right here. I think this defense wants to get anything going that they can to help their team. They're coming off a brutal loss against the Minnesota Vikings, so they want to prove themselves. We've seen the quotes post-game. They are ready, they're hungry, and they want to do it, especially against the Cincinnati Bengals. So I'm going to bet on them. I'm going to bet on them wanting to help their team, especially especially if Brock Purdy isn't in. They want to keep their team in this game as much as they can. So 0.5 interceptions for Joe Burrow. We'll see how that goes. We don't usually do stuff like that. We're very positive here, but we'll see what happens. The last game I want to go to is the Kansas City Chiefs taking on the Denver Broncos. And I want to look at Isiah Pacheco for this one. I want to go higher, 0.5 rushing and receiving touchdowns, because he's going to score a touchdown. I mean, that's essentially what we're looking at here. The Denver Broncos are the Denver Broncos. They give up the most fantasy points to running backs. I know that the Kansas City Chiefs want to extend this win streak with the Denver Broncos, and so I think Isiah Pacheco is going to continue to dominate. I think he is going to get a touchdown in this game. So we can look at our slip right over here and see what we got heading into week 8. So we have DeVonta Smith higher, 49.5 receiving yards. We have Joe Burrow higher than 0.5 interceptions. And we have Isiah Pacheco higher, 0.5 rushing and receiving touchdowns. So make sure you go to UnderdogFantasy.com. Make sure you use the promo code LIFE and lock this in. All right, that was the roundup heading into week 8, where we went through the biggest pieces of news and the best fantasy information to hopefully help you dominate your fantasy leagues this week. So make sure you go to fantasylife.com, where you can see all of our rankings, all of our projections 100% free. And while you are there, make sure you subscribe to our newsletter. Again, fantasylife.com, where everything is 100% free. Appreciate you all watching, and we'll see you next week.